Right. You want the experience of somebody gets this table, puts it together quickly, starts using it. People watch it and say, "Man, I love your setup." And when they ask you what is it, you want that person to say with a big smile on their face, "Oh, it's a podcast table. It was easy to set up. It looks great. It works great." Right? You don't want anybody to be like, "It's cool, but," right? Like you don't want that. So I appreciate the thoughtfulness that goes into it and kind of making sure it's as easy as possible. So what were some of the sucky things that were happening? Like what are some of the latest innovations that benefit podcasters putting this together and using it?
Yeah, well, let me tell you a story. One of them is we used to offer screws, so just a wood screw with a thread that you would have to use a power drill with a bit to drive the screw into the wood, so we would pilot the hole. And so, I mean, it's just screwing something into a piece of wood, but not everybody's done that. What people are used to is they call it RTA, ready to assemble furniture, where you have an Allen key or an Allen wrench, whatever you call it, with a bolt, and there's a thread, and you just, it's super easy. So there was one day where I was putting together one of these tables, and the screws that I was using, they weren't going all the way in, and the heads were stripping out. And I was like, well, that's not good. So then I switched screw sources. Essentially, I switched screws, and then we made the pilot holes bigger, and that helped. But then I switched where I was buying the screws, and we just got a bad batch. And I was driving home from Podfest. I went to Podfest in Orlando back in January, like end of January. And I get a text message, and the guy's like, "Hey, I just got my table, and the heads are popping off of these screws." And I'm thinking to myself, man, that freaking sucks. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just a bad screw or whatever. So I'm like, well, I can send you some new screws. Like, if you go to the hardware store, here's the type of screw you should buy. I'll send you an Amazon gift card just to kind of help cover some of that cost, like maybe ease some of that inconvenience. And he's like, okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much. Well, then I decide to look this guy up, and on Facebook, he has 4 million followers.
Oh,
And so I think to myself, the guy that has the issue putting these tables together has the most influence out of anybody who's bought one of our tables so far. And we had gotten a lot of ideas being at Podfest, and I was like, okay, what are my steps when I get back? So one of the things we did was we bought a CNC machine, and this is an $8,000 expense. But what that allowed us to do is to route out the bottoms of the tables where the table leg plate will set in to the table. So there's no question where it goes. And then the holes line up to metal threaded inserts. And now we offer bolts and Allen keys. So it's like super easy to just line the pieces up and drop the bolts in, and then tighten them with an Allen key. So we solved that problem. It was a big expense, but it peace of mind for me is worth the money, so that I don't have customers who are running into issues. So